In this video, what we want to do, we want to style our two buttons, okay? Because as you guys can see on the finish app, these two buttons are next to each other, okay? And we also have this beautiful shadow, okay? So in order for us to do so, what we can do, we can come here on inside our code, and here for our two button, what we want to do, we want to cut this, okay? And we want to add this inside the h stack, okay? So it's gonna to be h stack, and here we can paste it inside this h stack, okay? So only by doing this, as you can see, we have these two buttons next to each other, okay? Now the next thing we want to do, we want to get them closer, okay? Because as you can see, we don't want this gap between the two of them. So yeah, how can we do this? In order for us to achieve this, what we can do, we can play with this spacing, okay? So with this spacing, and here this spacing, if we provide a value like 20, as you can see, it will increase the spacing between these two, okay? Maybe let me increase this value so that you guys can see, okay? So if I say 50, as you can see, the gap between the two of them will get bigger, okay? And if I go higher, if I say 80, as you can see, we make it bigger, okay? But if I don't put any value, or if I put 0, as you can see, these two buttons will just be next to each other, okay? But now, how can we make this one to be on top of our next one? So in order to do that, what we can do, we can provide a negative value, okay? So here, if I say -10, as you can see, this one overlap the other one, okay? So let's say, for example, we want instead of -10, we want -60, and as you can see, this one will overlap this one, okay? And for the sake of this video, what we want is this -70, okay? And as you can see, it's getting close to our finish app, okay? But we are not there yet, okay? So the next thing we have to do, we want to play with the width of this button, okay? So yeah, instead of providing this max width of 150, what we want to do, we want to specify this to infinity. It will take the remaining width of this h stack, okay? And now the next thing we want to do, we don't want to see this, okay? Because on the finish app, we are not able to see this border, okay? But here, as you can see, we're able to see this border, okay? So how can we fix this? In order to fix this, what we can do, we can come on this button, and what we want to do, we want to specify a property called this z index, okay? And this z index, what it will do, it will simply help us to say to SwiftUI that we want this button to be on top of this other one, okay? And as you can see, because this one is on top of this, we are not able to see this border anymore, okay? As you can see, if we remove this, we can see this border. But if we put it back, this button will now be on top of this one, okay? And we won't be able to see this border anymore, okay? And as I said, we are getting closer to our finish app. The next thing we want to do, and the last thing, is this shadow, okay? Because as you can see, we have this nice shadow, okay? So how can we achieve this? In order to achieve this, what we can do, we can come on this h stack, okay? And what we want to do, we want to add this shadow property, and here we want to specify a color. For us, the color is gonna to be gray, and now we want to specify the radius, okay? So yeah, radius, for our radius, we want it to be 5, okay? And here we have to specify this on x and y property. So x, for us, x will be 0, and y will be 6, okay? And let me explain this. First of all, this color is simply the color of our shadow, okay? So here, if we change this gray to red, for example, as you can see, we have this red shadow, okay? But yeah, as we said, we don't want this red, we want this gray color. And now this radius is to specify how deep this shadow will be, okay? So let's say, for example, we want to set it to 50. As you can see, the shadow will expand even more, okay? But yeah, what we want is this 5, and this x and y property is just the x and y axis, okay? Because as you can see on a finish app, we have this shadow, but our shadow is on the y property, okay? It's not on the x property, okay? So if, for example, you want the shadow to be on the x property, we play with this on x. but if you want it to be on the Y axis, we play with this on white. Okay, so I think that's it for this video, and everything is looking good. Okay, and in the next video, what we will do, we will start building our logging screen. Okay, so guys, get excited for this, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Bye bye.